Hey, everybody. I want to welcome you to the AGTV interview series. You may know him from The Howard Stern Show and from Uncle Rico. Everybody say shalom to Shuli. Nice. You know what? I got one of these. You're supposed to do a honk honk, but this one, you have to like hold it with two hands. You have to, not so easy to get a double honk out of it. But I bought this thinking I would honk it on the show all the time. And it's not like as useful as I thought it would be. You ever met Hal Sparks? Like, do you ever see him on the comedy circuit?
Oh,
Well, what do you think of his whole friendship with John? I always kind of wondered where he was in all this stuff.
I don't know. I think they're friends due to political beliefs. I don't, I don't know. Look, John and I were never close friends, so I don't know the friendship, what that's like with John. But I can see the fallout from it, and I see, the way most of the friendships end not well. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird to me because he seems like he's a pretty together guy, and you know, anybody with a brain in their head's like, what am I doing with this guy? You know?
Yeah, I always get the sense that Hal was really actually a good friend to him. And I thought Hal was always giving him good advice. And you know what I mean? A good friend will tell you when you've got shit in your teeth. You know what I mean? Hey, man, you get some
Yeah.
broccoli in your teeth. Hey, man, you came across like kind of an asshole last night. That's what a good friend does, is kind of help you out when you don't want them to.
Yeah, but an equally good friend listens. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
You can only give so much advice for somebody who's not taking it, and then you have to just move on with your own life. There's only so much help you can give a grown adult.
I think that's part of the problem with John too, is that if you want to have a friend, you have to be a friend.
Well, yeah, it's a give and take. Absolutely. Any relationship is. It's why most of his relationships don't work out. It's got to be about him. And I think we all have that at first, because we don't know. You learn on the job by fucking up. And he's messed up so many times that it's like, how have you not learned by now? That's the crazy thing, you
Do you
know?
think he's like a bona fide narcissist, John?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. On a level that normal people can't even comprehend.
With Stuttering John, and I want to get right into the Stuttering John stuff. Why do you think it is that John's unable to ignore his trolls, and why he always seems to engage in the worst possible way?
I mean, look, it's hard. It's not easy to not get involved. It takes willpower. Look, it's not an exact science. There's days where I start with them and give them what they want, and it's like you just can't. You just can't. Or in his case, there's so much of it that it's kind of hard to ignore. Your only other options are to just leave and never come back, or lean into it and kind of embrace it and fight back, or you know I don't know. Like I said from day one, if he had a show where he just said any super chat is getting posted, I mean, you'll be making money off the trolls left and right. You're gonna have to post what they write, but you know, one doesn't come without the other. They're not tuning in for your political prowess. So this is really the only two options in my opinion for him to do it. He doesn't have the ability to ignore it. He doesn't have the ability to let it roll off. He's too sensitive. He's got too much of an ego, and he constantly has to have people praise and love him. That's how a kid thinks. That's not how an adult thinks.
It's
So
kind of another problem too, because if you are somebody that pathologically needs to be praised and liked, the problem is that's a really good way for the trolls to try to get to you. Is all they have to do is what I like to call a qualifying troll, where they say,
yeah,
like in Opie's case, they'll say, "Hey, Opie, love you, man, love the show," and as soon as he sees that, he just reads the entire super chat, and then people know that that's all they have to do. Just grease him up, just butter him up just a little bit, and he will just open the doors for you and let you say anything. So I think that's another, like you said, it's another component of the narcissistic thing.
and it's also why he keeps getting duped by so many people. He's had moderators that were trolls. He's had you know he had a guy that he recruited to Photoshop uh, uh, things about Kumia for him, and the guy, reached out to me the day that John DM'd him and was like, "Dude, John wants me to do Photoshop for him. What should I do?" And I'm like, "Just observe and report. Do whatever he asks." And he would send me like his requests that he asked and all this stuff, and it's funny. But yeah, like that. That's a very easy in with him, is just to compliment him.
That wasn't the same guy with the cane who threatened you in person, was it?
No, it was not.
Can you tell me about
No.
that incident though? So what was that like? Were you scared at all of the guy?
Well, I wasn't. I was nervous going into it because I'm like, first of all, it was two guys that were supposed to come down. This is what I heard, and I was very confused because Phelan, my buddy Brian Phelan, who was giving me the heads up on this, was like, yeah, he said he was coming down to make sure you don't do jokes about his kid on stage, which I don't do anything about John on stage.
No.
Uh,
And how's he going to enforce that? He can't stop you from saying something. He can only beat you up afterwards.
well, and it's shocking to me that a liberal who prides himself, a quote unquote comic, John, a comic would try to silence someone's speech. I find that very odd. But apparently, and at the same time, in the same breath, going, none of this bothers me. Meanwhile, he's sending copyright strikes to our channels. He's trying, and so all of it bothers him.
Yeah.
He's completely see-through. And so I got wind that a couple dudes were coming down. I was nervous just because I knew there were people working there that weekend that this could escalate rather quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I just didn't want that to happen. But then the other part of me is like, I'm so curious and can't wait to see what's going to happen. For the content and the stories for the show, and B, fucking who knows what else. Like if this is legit, like this is fucking nuts. Like I've never heard anybody do this before ever.
Yeah, it's definitely a great story though.
Yeah, and so I get there and we're at the show, and I'm just kind of everybody I'm looking at. I got inside information. He knows he's coming, but he doesn't know that I know he's coming, right? So I don't know who it is. I don't know what he looks like. But sure enough, I see this guy kind of walking around, and I just kind of feel this energy of like, this guy is not here for comedy. Like I could just tell. And it was me and High Pitch at the bar. The show had started, and High Pitch was at the bar, and I was sitting next to him. And we were talking, and he just limped over with his cane, and he was just like, "Hey, the podcast about John, you might want to stop doing that."
Did you really talk in that mafia voice?
Yeah. And I was like, and my first thought was, "You're the guy? This is the guy that John sent?" Like, and then I just smiled, and I was just like, "What's that?" And he goes, that podcast you do about John, making jokes about him. You might want to stop doing that." And as loudly as possible, I just go, "Oh, you're the guy John told to come down?" And that's when he was like, and that's when faces changed, and he was like, no, nobody told me nothing. I'm just here.
I was here. It's a joke.
And I'm like, "Oh, you're John. So John sent you down to threaten me." And he's like, "Nah, nobody's threatening anybody. That's all." And he starts walking away. And that's when he turned around. And he goes, "All I'm saying is Huntsville ain't too far away." Like that. And
what's going to hobble down there on his cane?
Yeah, I said, "Well, it's actually 14 hours by car." And he goes, "I'm not driving." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, there's an airport in Huntsville, so you don't have to fly into Nashville." And he goes, "I ain't flying." And I said, "Well, I'm out of options. I don't know what to tell you. So have a good night." So
do you really think that John would actually send somebody to beat the shit out of you? Is he capable?
I believe that before he would send himself to do it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, John's a pussy. He really is. When it comes to physical confrontation.
I've done enough Uncle Ricos and Blunder years to hear all his fight stories that end the same way. Him and a buddy running, and then his sister coming to fucking finish the job. and actually fight. So the fighting gene apparently skipped a Melendez. Yeah, I believe, because John is completely insane. He's, take it from me, is one thing I know, and that is whack packers. He is one of the biggest whack packers I've ever met. He's just, he fits every criteria. He checks every box on the list.
Another question I was going to ask you about, John, is could you ever imagine circumstances, and I'm talking now mostly, because I know, like in the past, you kind of laid off of John. You sort of had, you know what I mean? You didn't really want to engage with him. But now that you're doing the
Right.
Uncle Rico show, and now that, John's kind of blown up and become kind of a cultural phenomenon, not for the reasons that he wants to be, but could you ever imagine circumstances where you would start to like legitimately feel sorry for him?
No, no, and for me, it's personal, right? Like that's the whole reason why I decided to finally fucking do something about it, because I just was thinking back to like all the shit this guy tried to do in fucking with me when I never did a thing to him. All I did was get hired at a place he used to work at, and that was enough for him to try it. Forget about trashing me online. Forget about trolling me. This guy tried to get me fired from my job. Like, what the fuck is that about? What did I do to him to ever warrant that?
Do you think he was jealous of you? Do you think he got jealous or insecure of anybody that came on the show after him?
100%, 100%, because he wants to be back there so bad. And you know, I get it. I get, like, I've moved on. I loved my time there. I loved every minute of it. Maybe the last few years I wasn't crazy about, but the pandemic had a lot to do with that and the whole job changing. But it's like you got to let go at some point. You got to let go, and he cannot, because that was his peak. That was he's not willing to put in the effort to try and get back to close to where that was or whatever. Like, it's possible. People know you in the business.
He's got the
But
connections.
that's the thing. The type of show that he does and the type of things that he says, long term, there are not a lot of options left for you.
You can forget about acting for the next 20 years. Your fucking career is over. Take your fucking SAG card and burn it.
What do you think would have been Marci Turk's response if John had still been on staff when she joined?
Oh, I don't think he would have been there too long. Things changed when the new management took over. It wasn't just Marci. There was, a team put in place, and things changed overnight. And the people that were not with that change either left or were asked to leave. There were a lot of people that saw the writing on the wall and they were like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm out, and
you're talking around 2013 when the whole change started happening with the whole seminar. And
yeah.
What were you thinking when you were sitting in that seminar, though? Did your heart just sink? Was there a part of you that was just, or was it like, all right, well, let's try to make this work? Because it's a big change for sure.
Yeah, it was a big change. I mean, look, I wasn't like sitting there going, "Are you fucking kidding me, dude?" Like, no, it wasn't like that. I was like, wow, this is fucking different. Like, I remember sitting there going, this is wild. But I was not, and then, I remember there was a whole nother meeting after that meeting of just a bunch of the smokers on the show downstairs outside the building going, what the fuck was that about, dude? Like, everybody was just like, recapping. It was strange, but it was like, what are you gonna do? This is what the boss is asking for. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's give it a whirl. To your first question, no, I don't think John would last in that corporate environment. I barely lasted.
When you were in that hotel lobby in LA and John tried to interview you, and I was listening to that recently to kind of get a refresh on it, I forgot how drunk he was, how much he was slurring his speech. What was going through your mind while that was happening?
Yeah, I've said it a bunch, and I'm not making a joke. I literally thought a homeless person would put their arm on, because he reeked of alcohol, and he was and he puts his fucking hand on the back of my neck, his arm around me, like we're pals.
Fuck that. I
And-
hate when people put their hand. They think they could just put their hands on people. That shit will drive me nuts.
Yeah, and I just in my head I got the list of options of what do I do right now in this situation? Do I turn around and verbally unload on this guy like I'm capable of, to the point where we're probably going to have a physical altercation in this lobby? That's not going to reflect well on me.
No.
Do I scream at him? Do I run? What do I do?
Because then
I
you're giving him
calmly
what he
got-
wants. Yeah.
And that's the other thing. It's, his fat cameraman was sitting there. Well, by the way, cameraman, it was his fucking phone. He's sitting there holding this fucking phone.
Like the DC trip.
So exactly. He probably got him off of Craigslist. And so I just calmly got up and I just kind of walked away. And I knew, because he was filming it, he could edit it however he wanted to, no matter what I say. So I was in a lose-lose situation.
Absolutely.
So I just kind of walked away. He put me in a position that could have affected my income from my family when there was no need to. And he was too much of a pussy to go and try that with Ronnie or Sal or anybody that was sitting at the bar over there that would have told him to go fuck himself.
Oh, they were there.
Oh yeah, everybody was
shit.
there at the bar. He didn't go anywhere near them. Anywhere near them. A bunch of us were getting ready to leave for dinner. It was a bunch of us going out to dinner. The whole crew that was in LA that was staying at that hotel. Ronnie likes a good pregame. JD was over there, Sal. They were all hanging out at the bar waiting for the Ubers to come, and we were all going,
What the hell do you think was going through John's mind?
About 2 gallons of Coors, number one. And, I don't know. Like, he thought this was going to be really great viral content, like his Trump call. Like, you go back and listen to that Trump call. It is one of the worst prank calls in the history. He actually starts talking real politics with Trump as this fake senator. It's so dumb and goes nowhere. But he doesn't know how to be funny. He knows how to read funny, but he doesn't know how to be funny. So he can't even realize, to him, the fact that he got through to Trump is the victory. But as a comic, you're like, it doesn't go anywhere. There's nothing funny there.
Right. Yeah, I know. Like he just got excited because he got the BuzzFeed people to write articles about it. I mean, he did get a little bit of internet juice off of it, but for John, like for him blowing up as he gets a video with 50,000 views, that's really not that great.
And at the end of the day, what's it doing for you if you're not putting in the work to fucking capitalize off of that?
Yeah, especially if YouTube is the only thing that you're on, then you need to be performing or finding some way to be able to monetize that stuff for yourself. But it seems like that's the kind of thing where it's unfortunate he alienated everybody on his team, because he could use people. The people who have technical skills would be good people to have in his corner right now, but that's his own fault,
Anyone could help him at this point.
friggin' college kid, a kid in college that's learning this shit can help him out. I mean, he definitely can't do it himself.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm putting together this network. And the first thing I did was surround myself with people who are really good at what they do, and they know what they're doing. And so this team, to do this and feel as supported as we are, and to be as supported as we are, is it's like we're on the radio again. It's like we have this elite staff that nothing is fucking impossible. So it's just the effort, man. You got to know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and figure it out. It's very simple, but it requires that self-inventory that John is not capable or wants to do.
Well, you guys are doing a really great job with it. I think Levy's really funny. I was going to ask you about Mike Morse. Was he on Boston radio? Because I feel like I recognize his name. I used to hear about Mike Morse all the time. No, probably a common name.
Mike has produced some of the most legendary song parodies on the Stern Show throughout the years.
Maybe that's how I recognize him.
Yeah, John Hine had a song they used to play when he'd come in, Rich Nerd. He's a rich nerd.
Oh, I think I remember that one. That was him?
And the one he did for Ralph. He got Ralphie Cakes. Ralphie Cakes. So he used to do a bunch of song parodies. And Mike's just a genius guy, especially when it comes to Busting Balls when we did the first Miserable Men. He was great. Like whatever happened that week, he had 4 or 5 song parodies about it, bits. He's just a writing machine. He's a roast writer for Lisa Lampanelli for years. Very talented guy. Yeah, like Mike a lot, man. Good dude.
Does what was I going to ask you? Does he run the StutjoDepot account? I know StutjoDepot is one of your producers, right?
Yeah, does Mike run it?
Yeah, I don't know why I was associating him. Maybe because he does some of the production and then StutjoDepot does some of the production.
No, Mike doesn't do really any production other than the song parodies and bits and stuff he does. Stutjo and King of All Dabblers are on the staff. Those 2 guys and ESO are the bulk of the video packages, the archiving, transcribing, producing live shows. Then we got Austin, we got Andy from Ontario. We got a good group of dudes, man, and they're all killing it, man. Everybody's doing great.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm like so happy to see how many like Stuttering John spin-off type of shows that there are because of, I mean, obviously WATP really started the paradigm of kind of making fun of him the way they do. But before they did, I think it was Revenge of the Cis did videos about him as well. They had sort of a battle with him about DMCA type of stuff that they ended up winning. I actually had John DMCA several of my videos as well. So when I had that happen, like Carl, I turned to Carl and I turned to Mersh and Royce, you know, to sort of get information. You know what I mean? I was trying to get advice from them, and they were kind of like my North Star, you know, to try to figure out how the hell do I deal with this? Because I'm somebody, I've never been a YouTuber. I'd never really been in broadcasting. I didn't know what to do. So it's just interesting to see how like this paradigm now, you fast forward to a couple of years later and there's all these shows that are fucking with John and making fun. Well, not really fucking with him, but just making fun of him and and being creative about it. And I wonder how that must drive John fucking crazy. That must make him nuts.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, WATP, started it all as far as dissecting John. And that's what I love about WATP is how in depth they get with the John stuff. Whereas I think what we do is just like, we love the exercise of putting something on we haven't seen and coming up with shit on the fly and doing it live.
Right.
That is organic, on the spot comedy is my favorite type of comedy.
Genuine reaction. Yeah.
Genuine reaction, and a guy like Levy is never at a loss for words. He's always ready to go. He's always got a thought. And then Mike is just he's a sniper. He's technically he's in the weeds. He's in the bushes there just waiting. And when he pops out and hits his line, and all of us kind of rotate and do that. And it's just so much fun for the 3 of us to, while we all have a personal connection, it's not personal. It's just about the funny. And there's so much funny there that it's great. We love it. We love it. So yeah, WATP does the best breakdowns of John, in my opinion. And I think we got, laughs per minute. I think we're up at the top. So it works.
Absolutely. And I, to be honest with you, like I never was super knowledgeable about the Stern stuff because I graduated in 2004. So before you guys had made the move to satellite, I graduated. So I had no earthly reason to be up at 6 a.m. listening to the radio. But since then, like once I got into WATP, because I was an Opie and Anthony fan, and then when WATP started making fun of Opie, they got on my radar, and that became my favorite show very quickly. Then when the Stuttering John arc started to happen, I kind of went and did a rewind and rediscovered a lot of the really cool Stern bits that I think some of them hold up and some of them don't, but a lot of the Stuttering John stuff that was on YouTube was really entertaining. You know what I mean? Even after all these years to go
Absolutely.
back.
He was a great part of the show. I loved him on the show. Hearing that prick laugh of his when Gary was getting ripped apart it would just make you laugh. It was funny. It was great. Then when you see the guy sitting there pontificating about how the show was great because of him, you're like, all right, dude, I've had enough of this
like,
shit.
all right, take it easy. And it's funny because he is somebody that he was always a goofball. He was always somebody I could see why people would clown on him. But you look back and sometimes I spend a lot of time watching the content that discusses him now. Sometimes it's easy to forget about the person he used to be. He seems like somebody that he used to be a lot more of a dude. If you ever go backwards and watch his content from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it's really sad to see how rapidly he's aged physically.
Yeah, but the other weird thing is that he's still, it's weird. You still see the same guy back then. Like we're cutting up stuff for like Blunder years where we're going to start doing Stern stuff that John was involved in, mostly him getting, raked over the coals. And we're archiving some stuff. And there's one thing where, it's him in LA with Howard, and he's just being a schnorrer. He's just fucking, or as he calls it, a schnorrer. He's being a schnorrer by taking advantage of where he's at because of Howard and having the maids do. He's bringing his wife on this trip. First of all, they're bringing the kid. They got the laundry coming out of their room. He's smoking weed down by the pool.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah, he pissed Howard off big time.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, just be under the fucking radar. What don't you understand about that? This is a work thing. You don't bring your wife to a work thing. You don't bring your kid to a work thing. You certainly don't go and fucking start making demands at the hotel you're all staying at, because all it is a reflection of Howard.
It's super white trash type of behavior.
Who cares
too.
about John?
Yeah.
Yes. So there really hasn't been much change in the guy, is what's crazy too, is like he hasn't learned a thing. It's wild.
Do you think Howard would feel bad for John if he saw how far he has fallen? And do you think Howard is aware of the Dabbleverse personally?
I don't know that Howard would feel bad for John. I think Howard is pretty cut and dry. Once you're done with him, he's done with you, I feel like. And plus John's been a dickhead for years.
He wrote John off a long time ago. It was 2009 when he made that Facebook post and he was kind of simping for Leno. And the way
don't forget, I mean, his show every day was based on bitching about Howard for a while. That was before politics, John, before woke Melendez. I know that a lot of people that work there are aware of Uncle Rico and listen regularly and dig it.
Good.
Get messages from him. So I imagine somebody's probably mentioned it to him or sent him an episode or something. I don't want to email him an episode just because it's like, I don't want to bother the guy, man. But and it's not like he would watch it and then go on the air and talk about it, because at the end it's promoting John and he's not looking to do that. Right. So it's all good, man. I don't think he would feel bad for him.
Do you think that there's a reason why John is such a uniquely popular lolcow? Like, what is it? What is the essence of John that makes him so different than all these other internet people that get made fun of?
It's a good question. I mean, the fact that he's so oblivious to things, the inability to learn or kind of try and change things that are making you that joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, if you're a fucking drunken mess on the air every goddamn day and you're getting ripped apart for it, and people are putting together hour and a half long shows based on how wasted you are in an interview, maybe you do something about the drinking. Maybe you try something. Try it. That's it. That's it. I think, like I talk to him like I talk to my kid. I don't care if you like the food, just try it.
He can't adapt. I think that's really it in a nutshell. John doesn't know how to adapt.
100%. And so it's this guy that keeps running into the wall, and everybody's just like, yo, sit down, watch this fucking guy. He goes, oh, he just ran into the wall. He goes, yeah, wait, in 2 minutes he's going to do it again. You go, well, how does he not know the wall's there? I don't know. It's fascinating. Let's just keep watching.
Like a parakeet that flies into a glass door, like one of those glass sliding doors. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. If I could figure that out, I'd be a gazillionaire.
My next question is, John was obviously trying to engage with you when it seemed like you wanted nothing to do with him. He wanted to engage with you, or he pretended that he did. And as soon as you flipped the switch, as soon as you just had enough and you said, you know what, fuck it, John, you want me? Come and get me. I have a show. You're welcome to come on my show. Why do you think he backed down?
It's a great question. I don't know, because you hit it right on the head. For months. I mean, for months since I left the show, but for years while I was on the show, this guy would try to engage me. Now, while I was working for the show, I knew better than to engage with him, not because people told me there I'm not allowed to. I just assumed, as a human being with a brain in my head, that me verbally, forget verbally, just interacting with the guy on social media that every day goes on and shits on my boss and where I work probably wouldn't be a good look for me. I don't know that I would get in trouble for it, but I'd probably be told to not talk to him. And I like to be an adult and make my own decisions, smart decisions. So I never interacted with him. When I left the show, same thing. I did did WATP numerous times where he's like, you want to do this? I'm like, nope, taking the high road. I don't want to give that fucker air. He needs me. He needs me.
I remember that. And you got a lot of shit on Reddit for that.
Yeah. Well, I get shit on Reddit for opening my eyes.
Your frustration with John, it was organic. It was like, it was justified. It wasn't just, it wasn't like Chad Zumock, where I think I totally understand. And I don't really believe in gatekeeping the Dabbleverse. I think anybody who wants to do a show, get in on the fun, goof on John, I say it's great. I mean, obviously there's every show has its differences and its varying quality, but I don't believe in gatekeeping the Dabbleverse except for Chad Zumock. He's somebody that I feel like the way he went about it was just, it's like, what are you doing? And he was somebody that was friends with John, had no real reason to stab him in the back. So I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I just thought it was purely, he wanted to start making money. He had dollar signs in his head.
For me, I'm not a guy looking for confrontation, and I'm not an asshole of a guy. And so for me, it was like, I didn't want to, my first thought isn't like, oh, I'm no longer under the Stern umbrella, let me fight with John. It was about, what can I do to, bring in some money so I don't have to get a regular job. I want to continue doing this. I want to continue going on the road, and everything changed. And so what's funny about why he stopped interacting with me is it was before really Uncle Rico. It was after the very first, it was a Shuli Show episode. If you go on YouTube, the Shuli Network on YouTube, you go to the playlist. We have an Uncle Rico playlist, and it's got episode 1 through I don't know how many, but episode 1 was just me and Iso, my producer, my partner in crime, and it was just me, no clips, just finally unloading and verbally fighting back against John. And it was after that episode that he blocked me on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Which I always thought was weird, because it was like, we didn't even get this party started when he blocked. It was like the minute I said something back, he ran and hid and fucking blocked me.
Well, he definitely watches, right? He has to watch.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And he should watch, because we're literally showing them how this can be done.
So I have a few other topics I could kind of rifle through quick, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I really appreciate it, man. This has been a great interview so far.
My pleasure. You're a good interviewer, Brad.
Thanks, man. I try to get better. You know who really inspired me was Husey, because I started watching his. I know he interviewed you recently too, and I enjoyed that one. But I started seeing how he would take like a Zoom call and he would zoom in like on your square and then zoom out, zoom in on his square. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of, by clever editing, you can kind of make it look like you're doing a multi-camera show. And when I saw him do that, I just thought to myself, oh shit, I should do interviews and start, you know what I mean? So he was a big inspiration, and I think he's a great interviewer, and he's a funny guy. Shout out to Husey, by the way.
Very funny. You remind me of a young, understandable Husey. So enjoy.
Well, I'm not that young. I'm 30. I'm going to be turning 37 next week. So
oh, happy birthday, kiddo.
Thank you. Yeah. Unfortunately, I will not be able to make DabbleCon, but I'm really looking forward to listening to the live stream, because that sounds like that's going to be fun.
You definitely will be. We got other stuff coming up, so you will be in attendance at some other things, I'm sure.
Oh, hell yeah. I was thinking about, I don't know if you're planning on going to the Dick Show crossover in Philadelphia. Do you listen to the Dick Show?
I don't listen regularly to the Dick Show. I know isn't Vito on that show with him, right?
Yeah.
Does he? Yeah, I know Vito. I know Dick a
Vito's
little
fucking
bit.
funny. Yeah, I like Vito.
Vito's great. I love Vito. Yeah, maybe I will come out to that. I don't know. It depends. I'm a Jew. I like tying in gigs with stuff, so I actually walk away with some money.
What do you think the odds are someday? Like, is the Holy Grail? Would you guys like to get Artie on the Uncle Rico show in the future? Or is he done with podcasting?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I would love to get Artie on anything. To be perfectly honest with you, I think he's maybe the best storyteller ever. One of the funniest human beings, one of the sweetest people that I worked with in my 15 years in New York, even going through all his shit. He's a guy that you root for. Everyone, roots for him. And I always want the best for Art. Sure, if you want to come on Rico, absolutely. I would love that. But I would also just love to know that he's okay and he's in control, and whatever he wants to do, he can do at that point. I'm just rooting for Artie, man. I don't care where he ends up as long as he's happy, he's safe, and he's in control, you know.
Yeah, man, that's a good way to look at it. That's definitely what's important. And I got the sense that maybe to him, maybe it's like a good idea that the last few years he's been kind of backing away from a lot of the spotlight. But I know he had his podcast, and he did kind of like put that on hiatus for a while. Did you really reach out to Benniloco to get her on the Uncle Rico show, or was that just a goof?
No, I did. I reached out. That this was before the fallout that she had with John.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
So obviously she didn't say bless you. Obviously she didn't say yes, but that surprised me too, because she's another person who stood by John for so long, and she seems like a genuinely nice person. Because I did a video where I was making fun of John, and then he had her on and some other people in his group, and I was kind of goofing on them. So I felt kind of bad because she seems like a nice lady, and she's actually kind of funny. Another thing I like about her is even when she was friends with John, she would call him out. Like I said, it's like that Hal Sparks thing where you may not like John, but you've got to look at people like Hal and people like Benniloco and say, well, you know what? They're good friends. They're people that are loyal to their friends, and you know what I'm saying? It's something that I do appreciate. Somebody that'll stick by somebody.
And I agree with you. I think she does have a great sense of humor, and so that's why at the end of the day, I don't think it's that much of a long shot that she may end up on our show. Look, at the end of the day, we're not sitting there trashing John's family and his personal shit. Yes, there have been times where Levy, because John and his little sock accounts keep trying shit, but all that does is just, you're poking a bear with a stick that I can't control once he's actually pissed off. Right now, he's still in goof mode, and that's what we're all in. And so that's where we're going to keep it at for the most part. But I could totally see her, the more people that see the real side of him and what he's really like, and, the amount of consideration he gives to the people that are giving him money every month. Like, I wouldn't stick around if I'm Benniloco, and I like her YouTube videos. I'm a fan. So I hope one day we can bring those two worlds together. We got a guest Tuesday night that has yet to do anything in the Dabbleverse that I think will get a pretty good reaction.
A former
people.
Moderator?
No, but somebody very close.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Well, I know that you lived in Las Vegas for many years. Before you were on the Stern Show. So I know Vegas has changed over the years. I actually lived there before the pandemic. I moved out there. What was the craziest experience you had when you lived in Las Vegas? Because I know it can be a crazy place.
There's a couple that stick out.
Do you miss the crackheads?
Hey, I worked in downtown Vegas in Fremont Street.
Oh shit.
So
Okay.
I dealt with them. It was one of the spots I worked at. I worked at a lot of places in Vegas, but souvenir liquor store on Fremont Street. Back in the old days where it was just pawn shops and liquor stores over there. And yeah, I remember a family, husband, wife, and a kid. Kid was probably 8 years old, 9 years old, maybe. I was walking to my car. The store had just closed. I think it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And the husband and wife are arguing. And then I see the husband put his hands on the wife in front of the kid. And I'm by no means, I'm no hero, but for whatever reason, I go, hey, like that. And he stops and he turns and he just starts walking towards me. And I'm like,
Oh
well,
shit.
in my head, I'm like, you had to get involved, didn't you? You couldn't just let her get beat. And and he's in my face, screaming at me, pointing at me, and I'm just like, hey man, don't put your fucking hands on her. I go, you got your kid right here. As I'm talking
Good
to
for
him.
you. Fuck him.
Yeah, well, listen, as we're yelling at each other, I get hit in the side of the head by the fucking woman's purse that I just rescued, and I go down, and not only is she kicking me and the husband, but I see the little fucking kid's shoes kicking me too. I feel
Holy
his little
fuck.
kid.
This is like Breaking Bad type of shit. Like that,
Yeah,
that I ain't no skank. Like
yeah.
that.
The whole
Oh,
family beat the shit out of me, and so since then, I'm a father of two girls. I've told them I'm not coming to help you. Figure out self-defense. Stick up for yourself. It's the last time I get involved.
that really
Sorry,
sucks,
ladies.
man. No good deed goes unpunished.
No, if you're getting beat around me, you're on your own. I hate to break it to you.
Were you all right?
Was,
You must have been fucked up from that, having 3 people kick your ass.
luckily, one was a woman and the other one was 9. So it was really just one person kicking my ass and 2 other
One and a
people.
half, yeah.
Yeah, kind of tickling me a little bit. But yeah, there was that. There was the night that I was I was driving home from work and I'm on the 15 heading back towards Flamingo, towards Flamingo and Decatur. That's where I lived.
Okay.
And I'm on the highway and I look over to my left and I see the Sands Hotel. And all of a sudden I see like a C-130 airplane, like those C-130 military airplanes on a roller coaster track, just let go, and it zooms past the building, and then I just see the charges go in the building, and the whole hotel comes down.
Okay.
Oh fuck. This is
Like,
when this is what, 96 when the Sands was imploded?
I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was when they were filming Con Air, because it was
Probably 96, yeah.
it was the scene where the fucking plane is skidding down the strip and shit and crashing into shit. And then they were going to blow up the Sands anyway, so they just blew it up. And I just remember looking over, seeing all this in a matter of 15 seconds, and then just turning straight and just going, well, another night in Vegas. What are you going to do?
That's pretty cool. That's a good story, though. I did like that movie. Put the bunny back in the box.
Love that movie. So
Yeah.
cheesy, so good. It's
Yeah.
great.
Anything
So,
with John Malkovich is good. Have you seen that movie, Burn After Reading?
yes, that was great. With
Oh
Brad
my
Pitt.
God, was it funny? And fucking,
Yeah.
what's her face? Frances McDormand with her fucking
Right.
idiot character that she played. Dribble, I'll give you dribble.
Yeah,
That was great.
Great flick. But yeah, Vegas is just, I've always said it's like living in a cartoon. It's like it's at any time of the day or night, and you go, hey, let's go to, let's go indoor skydiving. It's 3:30 in the morning, and there's a place open where you can go, and they're
Yeah.
waiting for it. And so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
Right.
anything is fair game in that town. So there's a lot of wild shit.
I used to just love the cheap poker tournaments. You ever go to Sam's Town on the east side? Because I used to live on the east side.
I used to see you playing a lot. I started, I was living out there when the poker boom started after Chris Moneymaker in the
Oh
World
shit. That must
Poker.
have been interesting.
Yeah, they right away they started expanding poker rooms, taking blackjack tables out, putting in poker tables. My thing was, so I'd quit working. I think my last job was at the airport as a wheelchair pusher. And then I quit that and I was just doing stand up around town. and barely making any money. And then I ran like 3 or 4 open mics in town, barely made any money. Worked for Sandy Hackett at the Greek Isles Hotel, hosting his comedy club. I think I made $150 a week doing that. And and the whole time I'm out there, I would wait Sundays, Luxor Hotel, $25 buy-in tournament.
Nice.
First hour's limit, second hour, no limit. After the first hour, it's no limit. And $23
cool.
buy-in. Yeah. Or $25 buy-in, $3 add-on. So $28. I ended up winning that tournament twice. I think it was like $1,400 I took home.
That's a great prize pool. You must have had an insane field for that tournament for a $25 buy-in.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it was the boom. Everybody and their grandmother was playing poker. Everybody thought they were going to have Chris Moneymaker's luck. So if you just played the top 3 to 4 hands for that first hour, really just conservative, because they gave you, I think, 500 in chips, and the blinds started at 50 and 100, and you're supposed to last an hour.
That's like a turbo tournament. Yeah. You're in the shove zone right in the beginning. Yeah.
You're 100% right. So you have to, when you go, you're going all in. Your goal is to double up. So hopefully that'll get you in the next hour. But at least 2 all-ins in that first hour if you want to make it to that final table.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the biggest source of income I had was poker. Stand-up wasn't paying the bills out there.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that you were actually playing to try to supplement your income. I mean, I know poker's a popular game, but did you ever see any poker stars while you were out there?
I used to work for one. The guy that his family owned the chain of souvenir liquor stores I worked for was Eli Elezra. I don't know if you know.
I know who Eli Elezra is from Israel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, I used to watch him on Poker After Dark. That's cool. I heard good things about him. I heard he's a cool dude.
He's a good dude. And he was one of my bosses. And I would see him come down, on Friday or Saturday night, comes downtown. He'd poke his head in. And I'd always say the same thing. I go, right now, heads up, one hand, I win, triple my salary here. Let's go. And every time,
nice.
Every time you go, what, are you crazy? And he walked out. And that was it. But he's a good dude. I like Ellie, and he's a good poker player too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's ruthless. I remember one of my favorites, I think my all-time favorite of the main event winners, I think, is Jamie Gold, because the table talk and the craziness with him, he was a character. I mean, I know he in a lot of ways
He got in trouble. Weren't there people he owed money to that he never split with when he hadn't?
He basically was staked for it, and he was trying to break his agreement, which was a shitty thing to do. But
it's so funny that poker is once you get into that level, it's mob run. Dudes are just, you're gonna owe people money whether you like it or not. This logo's going on your shit whether you want it or not.
That's the thing I think that most people don't realize about professional poker, or so-called professional poker, is that a lot of these guys are paper tigers. A lot of these guys are in debt, they're staked, they're losing money, and it's one of those things. It's kind of like with Hollywood, where it's all about image. Even if you're circling the drain, if you feel yourself slipping, you still got to buy that nice car. You know what I mean? You still want to project that image that you're winning and you're successful. And we've all known those guys that they're winning at poker. They're posting big chip stacks on their Instagram. And then when they lose, you don't hear shit from them. Suddenly they're crickets.
Yeah, well, comics are the same way. When a show sells out, they can't get on enough social media to tell people about it. But if you're playing to 37 people, you ain't doing an Instagram story or a reel on it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
but you should, because that's the reality. That's the realistic side of comedy. We don't always get a fucking sellout. But if you can make 22 people laugh in a room that holds 200, you're a fucking good comic. So you didn't draw well. So what? That's half the battle, is fucking selling tickets. You get those 20 people that come that one time, you do a good job. You don't fucking feel sorry for yourself and mail it in and punish them. I guarantee you the next time you come, there's 40 people, because those 20 people told people, and who knows, maybe even more, but it ain't going to be less than 20 if you do a good job.
Yeah. Well, that explains why Stuttering John never, he never posts his numbers.
I said, we've all been there, man. I haven't been on the road in a while. I'm not drawing great right now, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and deny it. That's the thing. You got to be honest with yourself. And then it doesn't matter what people who are too scared to try or don't have the ability to try or do what you do. Doesn't matter what they say. As long as you're fucking understand where you're at and you're realistic with yourself, it doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't. It's not a real thing,
Yeah. There's no such thing as a failure who keeps trying.
Listen, you don't fucking succeed without failing, man. You just don't. It's just a fact.
Yeah, well, I do think that it seems like stand-up comedy, if I think more people probably understand now, but I think there was a common misperception that I think people don't realize that stand-up comedy, it's a really tough, dicey business to be in. Even when you're successful, there's always uncertainty, and it's something that only the strong really are going to survive.
It's a grind, man. It's a grind. You got to be ready for it. And you got to be on 24/7, writing wise. You always got to be on alert and looking for something. And, that's not easy to do all the time. There's other shit that gets in the way. There's real life. There's your family. There's running a network, it doesn't make it easy, but, I did plumbing for 2 years, so I'll do whatever the fuck it takes and not to ever do that again.
Kind of like Anthony Cumia with the roofing I love when he tells those stories and he talks about how hot it was up in that attic, how shitty it was, and how every time he was having problems with Opie or there was some bullshit with management, he just thought about, I don't want to have to do that again. You know what I mean? You need a little perspective to just say, hey, you know what? It's not so bad. It is what it is. And you know what I mean? It's every business, every field, everything's going to be tough. But, when you're doing what you love, you know what I mean? That's got to be so you got to be so proud of what you're doing now, especially where it's not easy to leave something like you had a great gig with Stern and then you go and you start a successful podcast, but you are spinning plates all the time. You know what I mean? You've got another thing going. You get the stand-up comedy, you get the podcasting. And I think it's the kind of thing where the podcasting can help promote the stand-up comedy. And, being a stand-up comedian makes you a better podcaster. So you've got, you know what I mean? You've got a well-rounded sort of a multi-pronged strategy for success.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm learning as I go on. It's not a world that I'm familiar with running something. The stand-up has definitely taken a backseat to the broadcasts and putting this stuff together and finding the right people to make this team, and everybody be supported and finding other shows to bring in and be a part of this. For me, it's, I don't feel like the podcast that I was doing before the Shuli show, I think it started off well. I think it tailed off because I kind of tailed off with it, because the thing I love the most is working with my friends, is doing radio with my pals and busting balls and just being around other people. Being by myself so much wasn't a thrill for me. And I think I just got bored with it. So, getting back together with Bob, because we had a falling out we didn't talk for over 12 years. So fixing that, getting back together with that. And then Mike Morse and Mark Burns, who I've always kept in touch with those guys, getting those guys back together with Bob, that was easy. So now we had this nucleus of the Miserable Men show we used to do on Sirius. And, it's not getting the numbers that the Shuli show got, but fuck, man, it's one of the most fun times I have is doing that show with those guys. And then coming up with Uncle Rico, like I said, when I started that, it was just me and Iso talking. It wasn't about clips. And then it was going to be about clips. And I brought Mike in. And after that episode with Mike, I said, what am I doing? Why isn't Levy a part of this? He knows John. He's had his run-ins with him. At that time, we didn't know the whole history of John and his wife, his girlfriend at the time, and John hitting on her.
That's right. Yeah, I forget about that sometimes too. I know there's so much lore with John. Even somebody that like, even if you know about all of it, sometimes you forget because it's so much to keep track of.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. And so now, we started getting all this attention for this show. The numbers started growing, and now we're like, okay, my first thought is like, all right, how long is this going to last? Right? Like the people are going to get sick of this. We're going to get sick of this.
Nope.
Turns out I was wrong. Turns out I was wrong on both counts.
Yeah, that's good.
But it was also like, look, we have these new eyes and ears over here. Let's just give them other stuff as well. Let's not just rely on this show. Let's do other stuff. So we're doing the BS show. We're doing Miserable Men. We just added Levy Land. We got Anthony Zenhauser, Pat Dixon doing Men Are Talking. We got Kevin Dombrowski coming over with his comedy show where he interviews comedians. He gets great New York comics on there. Out of the Coffin with Bob Levy. It's our second most popular show on the network.
That's right. I think I was watching the other day. Yeah, no, he does great on his own too.
He's just Bob in front of the camera and the mic by himself, reacting to super chats and chats, and it's just, and a producer putting everything up, and that's it. And it's so simple. It's like cooking. The less you put in, the better it's going to taste. So there's very much an old school feel when all of us are together for me, as far as busting balls and broadcasting. It feels like old radio. I like it. And I'm having a blast with my friends. And the fact that, we can all make some money off of this it's even better. But I think we'd be doing it for free if we could.
Yeah, well, that's the best way to do it, where I can tell you guys genuinely enjoy podcasting with each other. You genuinely have a good time. I think that comes across to the audience. I see a lot of podcasts where there's a lot of fake laughter and a lot of, oh my God, a lot of overreaction. And I think people can pick up on that. And I think it's just not as fun. It's not as engaging when it's not organic like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, people used to give me shit for years on Stern. Why did you laugh so much on Howard? Because I'm in there with one of my comedy heroes and we're riffing and doing a bit, and it's fun and I'm having a blast and I'm enjoying it. And the same goes with Bob when he does his shit. And like there's days where I go, all right, hon, I got to go down and do a show, and I give her a kiss, my wife, and I go downstairs and I come back up and I'm sweating. I have tears running down my face. It's like, did you work out or did you do a show? I'm like, a little bit of both. Levy was involved, so it's so much fun, man. I love it, and the best is yet to come. We're only getting started. We got a lot of fun stuff coming.
That's great to hear, man. So I was going to ask, do you have anything you want to plug other than the shows that you just mentioned? Like, what, do you get anything else on the on the horizon for the Shuli Network that you can think of, or?
I mean, the Shuli Network, just, follow it on YouTube, subscribe to the Patreon. For $10, you get access to all the shows we do. A lot, one thing about our Patreon that we pride ourselves on is we don't record and then post content. Everything is live. You can be a part of all of the shows we do, interact with us through chat. We try to do each show one a week on YouTube for free, and then the rest we do on Patreon. We post audio, video to Patreon of each episode, and then we have daily free shows like the BS show Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on YouTube at the Shuli Network. So yeah, if you want to support us, great. Check it out for free if you're not sure, and check out Uncle Rico, BS show, Miserable Men. All the episodes are available there on the Shuli Network, and everything else is up on Patreon. And that's it, man. WATP live for DabbleCon if anybody wants to go.
Nice. And you know what? I'm definitely going to have to check out your guys' Patreon, because that sounds like a lot of good content. Definitely sounds like a good value.
Yeah, plus you have all the old Shuli shows on there, and you have all the bonus content when I first started the Patreon, which was a bunch of videos and pictures of my travels and experiences with the Whack Pack that were never released anywhere. So if you're a Sternhead, a lot of exclusive stuff there. A lot of good stuff. It'll keep you busy.
Nice. Well, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, Shuli. I really appreciate you doing this. It's great to see you on WATP goofing on John, but as somebody that wasn't really big into Stern, like I really do appreciate getting to like, do the rewind and kind of like learn about all the shit you did on the Stern show, which is really funny. So thanks again for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Adam. I love you, not just because you're a member of the tribe, but because you're good at what you do, pal. And anytime you want to do this again, we got to get you on Rico.
Hell yeah, man. I'm down.
All right, pal. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Oh,
and
no, man. Thank you.
Anything you need, let me know, pal. All right.
For sure, man. I'd definitely love to have you back on sometime.